anti-government protests are not new to Iran. There have been periodic demonstrations there since 2009, following President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's disputed re-election. But these new protests are causing Iran's leaders new problems, say analysts here in Washington. How can Iranian authorities praise protests elsewhere in the Middle East, tying them to Iran's own Islamic revolution in 1979, and then show no mercy to opposition groups in their own country? U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton recently noted what she called the hypocrisy of the Iranian government.
A regime which, over the last 3 weeks, has constantly hailed what went on in Egypt. And now, when given the opportunity to afford their people the same rights as they called for on behalf of the Egyptian people, once again illustrate their true nature.
Jim Phillips at the Heritage Foundation says Iran's leaders seem to be in denial.
I think it's an echo of what happened in Iran in 2009. When the Green Movement rose up to protest obviously stolen elections. And some of the background is similar. As in the Arab world, in Iran, there's a huge baby boom that faces a grim economic future because of high unemployment, rising food prices, housing shortages, and they also have a lack of political freedom.
Cameron Abadi at Foreign Policy magazine sees an irony in Iran's reaction to the uprisings around it.
Iran's influence, as it currently stands, could very well increase because of these revolutions in the Arab countries. At the same time, like you say, the people of Iran are themselves craving change. So it requires praising what's happening in neighboring countries while suppressing what's happening in one's own. That's a tenuous position for Obama.
U.S. President Barack Obama should re-examine his policy on human rights violations in Iran in view of the turmoil in the Middle East, says Jim Phillips.
To me, it's surprising that the administration would leap so quickly to support the Egyptian opposition when it bent over backwards not to do that in Iran. And you know, to me, it's a much easier call in Iran, and even in Libya.
Barbara Slavin at the Atlantic Council says the opposition movement in Iran is indigenous and White House influence on it is limited. And she also believes the Iranian government might, in the short run, benefit from the turmoil in the Middle East.
Certainly, I think they get some benefit out of seeing characters like Mubarak and so on, Ben Ali, fall. They can say that U.S.-backed dictatorships are falling. But as I pointed out, where once people in those countries used to look at Iran with a certain admiration, they particularly liked the fact that Ahmadinejad was so tough on Israel. If more authentic and popular governments come to power in Arab countries, they're not going to need Ahmadinejad as a hero.
What people want across the Middle East, Slavin and the others say, is political freedom. And that may still come to Iran. But for now, any craving for reform there faces a brutal government response. Ravi, Khanna, VOA News, Washington.